Back in 2021, we released the product that effectively started Sonora Cinematic, Poiesis Cello. Poiesis Cello amazed many musicians with its textures, impromptus, and extended techniques. Today we release a free update that changes the game completely. We brought Poiesis Cello into the Aria engine, the same familiar interface you'll know from our bestsellers, Panorama Guitars and Aria Vocalscapes, making it more playable, creative, and fun to use. Let's have a look. In this new version, you'll find all the 47 articulations that were present in the old version, with some minor tuning issues addressed, and much more. Poiesis Cello comes with two different instruments, plus a legacy folder that will allow you to access the old version of Poiesis Cello in case you need to recall sessions that use it. While the two instruments contain the same articulations, they are pretty different. The first instrument, simply called Poiesis Cello, is the original idea behind Poiesis Cello, brought to our Aria engine, while the second, called Articulation Keyswitch, is a more traditional single-layer instrument with an efficient key-switching workflow. The other important difference between the two instruments is that while the first offers a ready-to-go, beautiful-sounding stereo mix right out of the box, the second preserves the original microphone signals that you can blend as you please. The Keyswitch instrument will also give you access to 4 short articulations which are not present in the main instrument. If you're not familiar with how the Aria engine works, I strongly recommend watching the video I link in the description down below, which will give you a much more comprehensive technical overview of how to program it. In this video instead, we'll explore Poiesis Cello and its sounds without getting deep into the sound design capabilities of the engine. Each layer in Poiesis Cello hosts a different articulation. You can stack them, fade them in or out, or crossfade between them. And of course, it comes with the plethora of modulation capabilities that the Aria engine allows, both in the effects section and in the filter and LFO section. Let's explore some presets. There are about 100 of them. They're all over here. The first one, which is called simply Poiesis Cello, just like the instrument, is a good example of the natural tone that we capture with the instrument. It lets you morph from normale to textural sparse, which is one of the 4 textural articulations that we sample. Moving across the x-axis in the Aria engine lets you crossfade between layer A and B, assuming that the 2 fade buttons are switched on. I have MIDI CC 74 and 71 selected simply because these are the controllers that my MIDI controller is set up to, but you can obviously assign any MIDI channel that you like to the 2 dimension of the XY pad. So this is normale, and I'm going to slowly move towards textural. The texturals are really the centerpiece of the instrument, in my opinion. It's hard to explain what they are without listening to them. Basically, we let the player stay on one note only, creating lots of movement on that note only. Let's listen again to only the textural layer, so I'm going to move all the way to the right. You can really hear all this very delicate movement. There is a lot of nuance and expressive power in these articulations. As the first category of presets is textural, let's listen to a few more of these. Double textural dance, for example. This one is interesting because the first layer, A, has the fade switch turned off. So that means that this layer is always on, and the B layer only comes in when we move towards the right. I'm gonna get two articulations stuck together. It is very much like having two cellos performing together, or more if you play more than one note. This next textural one is called Hazy. It's one of the most inspiring for me to play. I really, really love it. Morphs between textural sparse and con sordino flautando, but also uses the Aria engine transposition system to have layer B sounding a fifth up what you play. So listen how cool it is to move between harmonies. I'm gonna play a major chord and morph between the two. Really beautiful. If we go in the effects section, we can also see that a reverse stereo delay send is a map to the y-axis. So if we go in the XY pad, we get this really cool effect moving up. Let's try another one from this set. I'm gonna pick Textural Crossfade Rebowed, and this is a very natural crossfade between textural sparse and textural dense, which can get very intense. Especially considering that the original walkthrough of Poiesis Cello is still available on our website and that it goes meticulously over every single raw articulation, let's get right away specifically into what having Poiesis Cello into the Aria engine means. Let's explore some presets from the Ambiences category. These are all great, but I want to show you one using the motion and the tremolos, which you'll know from the original Poiesis Cello. They sound amazing in this update. Let me find it. I called it Winter in Edinburgh. Now let's go back to more natural sounding patches. In the dynamic crossfade category, you will find a series of simple patches that are pre-programmed to give you a more traditional experience of playing a cello sampled in multiple dynamics that you can crossfade between using the mod wheel. Here are some of my favorites. Another way you can get very interesting sounds for your music is by using the Aria engine to morph between articulations that are completely different in nature. The Mixed Techniques preset category is there for exactly this reason. Let's give it a listen. There is a very subtle, quiet one which I really love, which is called poco vibrato tratto, and this moved from a collegno tratto, which, if you don't know what it is, it consists in bowing the instrument with the wooden part of the bow rather than with the hair, to an articulation which we called super soft poco vibrato. This is collegno tratto, and it gets into super soft poco vibrato. I really love this one. It's so fragile. This one is also very good for layering with other strings. Let's try another one. Sul tasto ponticello. So you have sul ponticello on the right and sul tasto on the left. Let's try something a little bit more on the extended technique side. There is one that goes from harmonics to playing behind the bridge, which is when the player, rather than bowing the string in the right spot, it goes behind the bridge, which makes a very screechy sound, which cannot be tuned. So this is kind of a mix of a tonal and atonal patch, which is kind of really cool for horror and things like that. Let's try it in the low range. It's kind of really interesting. A variation on the Mixed Techniques presets is to crossfade between motions, the tempo synced articulations in Poiesis Cello. Let's try a few. This moves from motions normale to sul tasto. And let's try the same moving to sul ponticello. Maybe something faster, maybe we can try the triplets. The next category explores the motion engine. Paired with the dual layer feature and the XY assignments, you can get some really cool ever-evolving soundscapes this way. If you don't know what this is, it's a very cool feature of the Aria engine that allows you to record a motion on the XY pad and have the engine perform it back for you automatically when you press a note. So let's just try this quickly. So I'm gonna record something. I clicked on record, then I can release it, record, the record switch goes off, and now if I click on motion, it starts moving, and I can double the speed or half it. Which doesn't sound great on this preset. So let's try on one of the presets that actually this makes sense on. You see how much movement I'm getting without touching anything at all, as the Aria engine is doing it for me. Let's try another one. It's gonna be really cool for horror scoring and things like that. Let's try another one. Drifter, maybe. Really inspiring. I love using the layer B offset on low values like 1 or 2 so that you get these really cool dissonances. Let's try one more for on the Emotion engine. As you can tell, there are really a lot, so I'm not gonna go through every single preset. Hopefully this will inspire you to go and try the instrument. Let's go for Unstable. The final category of presets in Poiesis Cello is XY assignments. This category groups together presets specifically tailored to offer a sound that changes by moving the cursor around the XY pad. So to do this, I want to relearn the assignments for my MIDI keyboard. I have a cool stick, so I'm gonna learn X and Y. So now I can move freely, and let's try one of these presets. Before I move to the second instrument, remember that you can import your own samples inside the Aria engine and use them in your patches. You can do so by dragging and dropping a sample, a wave file into the user sample articulation, and then obviously select it, and you can decide whether the user zone is looped or not. There are some very detailed information about this in the Aria engine technical walkthrough video that you'll find linked in the description down below. Let's move to the other instrument available in Poiesis Cello, the Articulation Keyswitch. This patch is designed for a more traditional, efficient workflow, which comes handy if you're after a more realistic acoustic sound. The Articulation Keyswitch patch includes all the sounds from the main patch, but it organizes them differently. First of all, you'll notice that the articulations that were sampled with more than one dynamic layer are now simply labeled as normale, sul tasto, sul ponticello, and so on, as dynamic crossfade is kind of hard routed to the mod wheel, just like any other traditional orchestral instrument. So if I have normale selected over here, I can crossfade dynamics that way, and you also have expression for volume. With a very handy dal niente switch, which I personally like to have control over. The other cool thing about this secondary instrument is that you can use the key switches to change articulation on the fly, and there are two different modes. The first one is KS. Here you have 5 different slots that can be key switched by any note in the 2 lowest octaves and loaded with any articulation you choose. For example, I could have sul tasto, and I could key switch from normale to sul tasto. The second one is velocity based, which basically means that you can set two different velocity thresholds to dynamically change articulation. This one is really cool. I think this one is particularly effective for short articulation. So let me load a preset to show you this. For example, the pizzicato would be very good, as it sets up a 100 MIDI threshold for velocity. So if you play quietly, you have pizzicato, but if you really press down, if you really go heavy on the keys, you would have Bartok Pizz, or snap pizzicato as it's also known. We covered everything that I wanted to cover, but here is an important warning to end this walkthrough. While the update is completely free for existing users, and while, as mentioned, you do have a legacy folder containing the 2 original patches that will help you recall your old sessions, do consider that while the original Poiesis Cello was developed for Kontakt 6, this new update brings the minimum requirement to Kontakt 7.7. Of course, you can still use the free Kontakt Player, and the full version of Kontakt is not required to run it. There is a link on how to update correctly on our website. Please do let me know in the comments if you have any questions at all, and I really hope you enjoy this new instrument. See you next time.